Welcome to LabMinutes.com and our lab video series on Cisco VSG and ASA 1000V. You can find a complete list of VSG and ASA 1000V video on our website by clicking on the link above and sign up for our newsletters to receive the latest video updates. Now that we have gone through VSG and ASA configuration, it's time to put two and two together. So far, we have only dealt with a single vPath, but what if you want to use both technologies in the same deployment? Nexus 1000V allows traffic to be passed through multiple security services such as VSG and ASA 1000V under a concept called service chaining. With service chaining, multiple vPaths belong to each security service can be used one after another in specified order. In this video, we're trying to build our secure virtual data center using Cisco VSG and ASA 1000V. We will use the configuration completed back in the VSG and ASA 1000V ASDM mode videos. So if you have not watched those videos, I encourage you to review them before proceeding with this lab. Here's our lab setup. We took the top half of the diagram from our ASA 1000V Advanced Security Profile lab and the bottom half from the VSG Advanced Security Profile and Policy labs and kind of put both of the labs together in a single deployment. Now on the Layer 2 VXLAN 6 to 10, just to recap, we have used the VSG to partition our servers into three different zones: the web zones, database zones, and management zones. The two web servers within the web zones are not allowed to communicate to one another, while it's allowed to ping the DB zones. And the NMS server is allowed to communicate over TCP 22 and 80 to both of the web zones and the DB zones. And so far we have not allowed any communications to or from the outside to any of these zones, so that's going to be part of our configuration in this lab. Now from the ASA 1000V perspective, we have already configured it to allow the web servers and the NMS servers to be accessed from the outside with all the static NAT and port forwarding, as well as the ACL that we have already configured in the ingress of the outside interface in the ASA to allow the HTTP service to the web servers and a customized port TCP 2222 to the NMS server. As you may know, the ASA 1000V and VSG use its own vPath. Now for us, in order to use both of the vPath on the same port profile, we need to make a slight modification to our port profile configuration on the VSM. So just to show you, traditionally, we have only used a single security profile on our port profile here, and the way to do that is under the port profile, you specify the organization level, whether it's for your compute firewall or edge firewall, and then you associate that to the vService node with the security profile that you want. But as you can see here, if you're trying to enter a second command of the vService, it will replace the existing command. That means that a port profile, when you do it this way, can only be associated to a single security profile. If you want to use both VSG and ASA, what you need to do, you need to create a vService path with the command vService path, and we have to give it a name called something vPath for the web. And then since we already have two existing service nodes, one for the VSG and one for ASA, again, if you do show run, should be somewhere at the bottom here. So right here, we have a service node for ASA and another service node for VSG. So what vService path command allows you to do is to specify both of the service nodes. So the first one, and again, this has to be a specific order of the processing that you want the packets to be treated. So, and the packet is considered to be coming from the AIM host. So the first packet that's coming from the AIM host, we want it to pass through the VSG at the layer 2. So first we need to pick node, vService node for the VSG here. And then the next command is profile, and you specify what security profile the VSG you want to apply to that traffic. And this is a secure profile we already have created called app1 on the VSG, and then you just specify the order 10. Right, the next round of packet processing is going to be for the ASA 1000V, so the command's going to be, let me select the vService node for the ASA, and then node tenant1 DC1 app1 ASA1. And again, you specify the security or edge security profile that you have defined on the ASA 1000V. First, we have one called sec profile app1 web, and again we enter the order. And the lower the number, the higher the priority of the packet processing, or the sooner the packet gets processed. You can do show run vService path. Okay, you can see right here, now it allows you to associate or specify both of the vService nodes under a single configuration section. What we're going to do is for the database server, so it's going to be vPath DB. It's going to utilize the same security profile from the VSG, so I'm just going to copy and paste that, but we have a separate security profile for the DB. So DB order 20. And the last one we need to do is for our management zone or NMS server. So we call it vPath underscore MGMT, or actually let's call it NMS. And back in the VSG video, we created a separate security profile for the NMS since we used the custom attribute. So we have the security profile is called SecProfile app1 MGMT, and then order 10. And then the NMS is going to be sharing the same security profile as the web server. So again, I can just copy it right here and paste. And now if we do show run, like begin vService, actually it's no space. Let me do that again actually. So show run type begin vService path. And you see here we have all three of our vService path commands, one for each of the zones. Okay, now we have to associate that to each of the port profiles. So let's take care of that one at a time, starting off with the port profile for our web servers. And it is called VM VXLAN 6010 10.1 app1 web. Right here, let's get under there and remove our regular vService node and profile command and replace it with a vService path command, and then point to the vService path we just created, which is called vPath web. Okay, and as soon as you enter that, packet will be processed by both VSG and ASA 1000V. Okay, now we just have to go through and do all of them. So the next one is DB. So let's do a show command on the DB. And then we're going to remove that and replace it with vService path vPath DB. And then we have to create a brand new one since we don't have one for the management zone or NMS server yet. Let's do another show run of the web, copy that, and do notepad. And then let's call this one MGMT. Got port group mode access, bridge. Somehow I don't see the vService path command, so let's try that again. So vService path, vPath web. Oh, looks like it's misspelled right there. So let's try it again. Path. Okay, there you go. See how that shows up. That should be NMS. That one is GMT. Everything else pretty much the same, and I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay, let's verify that the one for the database is also has the vPath or vService path command, DB. Looks like that one didn't take neither, so let me reissue that command. vService path vPath DB. Okay, let's just make sure we have all that. So let's do show run port profile. And right here, management, we have the vService path, vPath NMS. For the DB, we have vService path, vPath DB. And for the web, we have the vPath web. Okay, so we've got all that. Now what we have to do is to move our NMS servers into our new port groups or port profile. Right here. Management, let's make sure the web 1 still have the correct web. There you go, good. So the next thing we need to do is to allow in and out communications to the web servers and NMS servers, since these 3 servers are going to be providing public service to the outside. And so far within VSG, we are restricting any kind of communication to the outside. Okay, so now we have to get back onto the VNMC. And then let me lock in. And we need to create a new ACL to allow outside communication. So under service policies, we're going to go all the way down to the app 1 level. Look at the ACL, and we're going to create ACL policy. And we're going to add a new one called ACL to from outside. For the rule, first we're going to take care of web to outside. This is when the web server needs to talk to anything on the other side of the ASA. Make sure it's permit. We want to permit anything that is a part of, so member of, object web server, and that encompasses the 2.32 and .33 server, that's web 1 and web 2. And that is when it tries to go to any network that is not a member of a local VLAN. So app1net is the VXLAN 6010. So just saying when it tries to talk to anything on the outside, it will be allow, and then OK. And the next rule is going to be for the management to outside, and we are going to permit anything that's coming from zone management, and again to anything on the outside which is not a member of app1 network. Okay, and the last thing we want to allow is anything coming from the outside. So we're going to name it from outside, permit. From the source, it's again any IP that is not a member of app1 network will be allowed to enter. And again, the traffic that's coming from the outside should be restricted by the ASA anyhow, so there's not really a reason why you want to do your access list on the ASA and also the VSG. It's just redundant. So here we're just going to keep it wide open as far as the source on the outside coming in, because that should be in control on the ingress ACL on the outside interface of the ASA. Okay, so now we have our ACL policy. We just have to assign it to the policy set, and we have here ACL app1 that we are using for the VSG. So it should be edit, and just to add that on top of everything else, so we'll move all the way to the top. Okay, and then apply, then OK. And that config should have been pushed down, but again, always it never hurts to verify that the config has actually been successfully applied to the VSG. So let's look for our compute firewall and make sure the state is apply and not fail config. Okay, quick verification. If you log into the VSG, and do a show VSG security profile, and just do show run. You see right here, these are the additional access lists that we just configured with the to from outside. Okay, so at this point we should be ready to go. Let me show you on one more thing, which is show on the Nexus 1000V with the show vService detail. You can see right here, now that we enable VSG together with the ASA 1000V, the license count is now 2 for each type of the security service. Okay, and since all of our VMs are on the module 3, ESXi1, only module 3 shows up here. But now you can see the licenses are consumed for both VSG and ASA, and the status for both are alive, which is good. So we know we are all set on that. And here this also gives you the vService path information that we have it configured. And you can see the number of services 2, and you can see the order as well. And we also have the port information for DB1, Web1, Web 2, and NMS. Now let's go ahead and test everything and make sure everything still works as expected, starting off Web 1. So I'm going to bring up the Web 1 console right here and start with a simple ping to Web 2 server. For some reason we shouldn't be able to ping the Web 2, but we still can, so maybe we did make a mistake on our ACL configuration. Let's go back to the VNMC and take a quick look at our policy. So ACL to and from outside, edit. Let's take a look here, IP address member of a web server to the outside, web zones or management zones to the outside, and this one right here should say not a member of. So let me edit that here. So this is, I guess, where we make the mistakes. So that should be a not member of, which is equivalent to any IPs from the outside. Then OK, apply, then OK. And let's try that again. And you can see you no longer be able to ping. Actually, what I want to also gonna do is bring up our syslog server. Okay, as you can see, we can no longer ping Web 2 from Web 1. And what about we trying to ping the DB1, which should be allow 1.34? You can see that is working as expected. What about we trying to ping the .16, which is the NMS? I can see that is not pingable. And what about going to the outside upstream switch next hop, which is 16.128.1, which is now we're going to ping through the ASA. Okay, so go ahead and ping. You can see that is working also. And if we go back to the ASA command line and do show xlate, then you can see that we have a static NAT for that. And it's just to ping a little further to the internet. You can see that is working as well. Okay, what about pinging across the VPN that we have built? And that is working as well. And we know that the ping from the Web 1 to DB1 works. What about if you try telnet to 10.0.134, which is DB1 on port 22? And that should not be allowed by the VSG. Okay, so it looks like once we fix that, our mistake that we did on the access list, everything seems to be working as expected from the Web 1. Web 2 should be pretty much the same, so I'm going to skip that. The next server that I want to test on is the DB1 server. And DB1 should not be allowed to pretty much communicate to anything outside the zones. So we can try to ping back from DB1 to Web 1. Again, just to remind you here, DB1. You can see how the arrows point towards it, but not away from it. That means it should not be able to talk to anything or initiate communication to anything outside of the zones. So we can see we cannot ping 32, or 33, or 16. What about we trying to ping the outside, which is the upstream switch 128.1? So you cannot ping that either, although on the ASA, back in the ASA 1000V lab, we do have a port address translation for DB1, even security profile DB, for the database servers to get out. But since we did not allow communication outside of the zones on the VSG, the traffic is pretty much blocked by the VSG. It doesn't even hit the ASA, and that's why it's failing. Same thing with trying to ping the internet, and this is being blocked by the VSG. Okay, so it cannot access anything, but it can only be accessed. Now the next service we're going to test is NMS. So let me bring that up. So according to this diagram, NMS should be able to use TCP 22 and 80 to both web and database zones, as well as getting out to the outside through the ASA. So let's try that. Let's do a simple ping from the NMS to Web 1. You can see that is not allow. Web 2 and DB. So none of the ICMP traffic is allowed from the management zones to the web zones or database zones. Just trying to ping to the outside. You can see that's working because we have a port address translation to the ASA outside interface to anything that's not Web 1 or Web 2. And we should be able to also ping internet. as well as pinging across the VPN tunnel that we have. Okay. Now, if we want to telnet to port 22 to web 1, you can see that succeeds. Same with 34, which is the DB1. So it takes a while. There you go. So that went through. And just to test port 80, we're going to open up the web browser and then just browse to 10.01.32. You can see a splash page for web server 1. Then there's web server 2 and DB1. So we know both TCP port 22 and 80 is working from the management zones to both web zones and DB zones. So anything internally within the VXLAN is treated properly by the VSG. Now let's test the traffic inbound from the outside that tries to hit the web servers and NMS. So here we're going to hop to the .40, which is our jump box here, and we're going to try to access those services through the ASA from the outside. Okay, let's bring up the web browser. And then we said the NAT IP for web 1 and web 2 is 128.32 and 128.33. What we need to do is just to go to 128.32, and you can see that we can successfully hit the web server 1 page. And then 33, we can hit the web server 2 as well. And now we're going to test the port forwarding with the SSH to the ASA 1000V outside interface .16 on a port TCP 2222. There you go, you got our login prompt. And once we log in, we drop right into the NMS called console. Okay, getting back on the ASA 1000V, we do show access list. From outside, you can see we got our hit counts for TCP 80, and then hit counts for TCP, or is this actually a translated or the real IPs and ports? So that's why it's showing the NMS real IPs and ports, which is 22, where we got a hit count of 1. And even if you're trying to ping from this guy to 10, actually let's say to 16.128.32, that should not be allowed because the ICMP is not part of the service that's allowed from the outside. And if you go to the ASA and you show log, deny, you can see right here ICMP attempt from the outside IP of 32.40 towards 1.32 is being denied. So now we have successfully built our virtual data center using the VSG and ASA 1000V, with the VSG providing the protection within the VLAN or VXLAN, in our case 6010, for the east-west traffic, while the ASA 1000V is providing the protection for the traffics that leaving or entering the VLAN or the north-south traffic. Well, the ASA 1000V also accesses the VXLAN gateway. So that's pretty much wraps up our video on VSG and ASA 1000V service chaining. You can visit our website to view an extensive list of our lab videos and sign up to get access to additional lab contents. Thank you for watching LabMinutes.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.